What's up, ladies and gentlemen? As promised, I'm here to answer the questions that you guys left me on my Instagram page of the post I made earlier today. So, I have close to 90 questions. So, don't be offended if I don't spend a lot of time on your question, but I'm going to do my best to get through all of these in a timely manner. So, let's start. Are you really changing out of the 212 class? Yes. That's going to take me a little bit. And I'm sure there's some other questions in here that are pertaining to, hey, what's your first show? I don't really know yet. I was working a lot of hours in January. Things have switched up a little bit, so I have a little bit more time. I need to pack on a little weight. I want to gain another 10 to 15 pounds before I feel comfortable, pinning down a date and get ready to do that. But I am. That was actually the next question. When do you plan on doing this show? So we'll skip that. What do you think is best for eating carbs before and after workout only or throughout the day? And how much carbs, fats should you eat? That is a very subjective question. I think that really has to do with you. Um, I think that if I were to choose carbs before or after, and I was on a limited carbohydrate diet, I would choose to eat them before so that I had full glycogen stores while I was training. I could push a little bit more weight and perform better in the gym. And then I would just probably not eat the carbs after. That's what I would do. As I was prepping for these 212 shows, I might have a little bit of carbs before I would train, but afterwards it was just nothing, just fiber, protein, go to bed. What's a good way to engage mind-muscle connection? I think that that's something that is really just time. And a lot of people have it better naturally than others. I think a lot of it comes from maybe being an athlete in your past or, just being in tune with your body. I've trained a lot of people or trained alongside a lot of people. And it's interesting to kind of observe who has a good natural mind muscle connection versus who doesn't. I trained with one of my good friends. He's a very accomplished martial artist, and all I have to do is show him an exercise once, and he nails it. Perfect. And you can tell that he has a great mind muscle connection, but it's because he's a martial artist, so he has to. He knows how to move his body very well. And if you don't haven't really developed that at some point in your life, it's going to take you a little bit longer. But I think that that is really part of your genetics. In terms of like a strategy to engage it, you got to focus. Sometimes people need to have uh, certain work done in certain areas to increase, the nerve activity. But just in general, I think that the best answer for that is just time. How much carbs am I taking daily? To be honest with you, man, right now I don't have a number that I can give you, but I'm eating pretty much as I can. My stomach was bothering me about a week ago, so right now, you'll see some things I post. It's just a lot of food. I'm just trying to eat, punish the food, punish the weights, and get some extra pounds on the scale. Um, Stubborn delts. Could you share routine, possibly some tips on the form best activate? I have stubborn delts. Could you share your routine and possibly some tips on form to best activate the muscle? I've shared my delt routine before in the video and stuff, but just to go over it real quickly, I think that most people make the mistake of focusing on heavy presses first, which is just really going to lead to breaking down your rotator cuffs. It's probably not going to lead to big round delts. I normally start now with rear delts, and I do 2, maybe 3 volume exercises for rear delts, and then I will go to the side delts, do 2 or 3 exercises, and then finish off with the pressing movement, and then boom, that's it. nothing too complicated. One thing that I will say that will help you, at least has helped me to engage the rear delt and the side delt, is when I'm doing like a rear delt raise. You see this here. I know there was a question about tennis elbow, and that's why I left this on here, because that answers another question. If you flex your tricep really hard, for me it helps me engage my rear delt. And also, if you flex your horseshoe really hard when you're doing a side lateral, for me it helps me to kind of flex that medial head of your deltoid. Um, do I have any encouragement for beginners, guys, in their first few months in the gym? Be patient. And nothing happens immediately. My first few months in the gym, I remember getting stuck under the bar with 25s on each side. It can be discouraging, but anything like this is just going to take a lot of time. And we all know that this isn't just about being in the gym. It's about all these other habits. It's about eating, your supplementation, your sleep, and all of this stuff. So when you're just getting started, you really got to take into perspective that you're starting at the bottom of a mountain, and so don't take a few steps and then just think that the top is too far to climb. So that would be what I'd say. How do you feel about intermittent fasting and meal timing? Do you believe it holds actual benefits? In terms of intermittent fasting, I've seen some people have very good results with it. I think it depends. I think optimally you're eating on a consistent basis. But sometimes, maybe you're busy, you have a different lifestyle that's not really ideal for you. And it's also, I think it's going to depend too, I'll bring it up, whether you're natural or not, if you're on some type of hormones or not. Because if you're a natural athlete, you're obviously much more prone to be going into a catabolic state. So if you're fasting for long periods, I think you're going to lose muscle. So that's something to take into consideration. It does work. I've seen people lose a lot of weight doing intermittent fasting, but just in terms of, I would really only recommend fasting if you're using hormones of some kind, because otherwise, in my opinion, you'll probably be losing more muscle. Just my opinion. Will you teach me how to Dougie? I'm definitely not the best guy to ask for that. How do you keep going? How did you keep going when you were chasing your pro card? Well, it didn't take me that long. So I think that I'm not really the best guy to ask. Now, was it easy is it easy? No, obviously not. And there were a lot of struggles I had before I got to that point. But in terms of actually competing to chase the pro card, I did teenage nationals and I qualified in the teen nationals. And then I had injuries, stopped bodybuilding for years. And then when I was 22, I did a regional show, won heavyweights, won overall. Next year, did USA's, won my pro card. Boom, like that. So it wasn't like I competed for years and years and years and it was just like, oh man, I'm never going to get it. And now there are people who do that, and hats off to them. They really want that pro card. And for me, I told myself, Aaron, if you don't turn pro by the time you're 25, then this is a hobby for you. You got to be realistic. And that's, I think, why I pursued bodybuilding, because, I set that limitation for myself, and then I ended up turning pro when I was 23. And so to me, that was, and there's the green light, go for it. And so I just decided to try to make the most of what I could do with it, and so far I've been trying to ride it out the best I can. But that's really different for everyone. Tell us more about your pec injury, operation, and recovery. Um, I tore my pec, I guess, right after I did Teenage Nationals. I started the tear probably before. Now this is interesting to note, and it's odd too, because back as a teenager, everyone thought that I was all juiced up and using all these PEDs, and it really was not the case. If it was, I would tell you guys. I have nothing to hide. Um, I took a pro hormone when I did Teenage Nationals, and that's it. So it really was not. I had really, really, really bad acne, really, really bad acne, and I don't know why. It was just genetic, really, and bad enough that I tried a lot of antibiotics, and eventually the doctor put me on Accutane, and I was actually kind of apprehensive to take it because I was afraid that it would dry me out and cause some problems with my ligaments. And when I took it, I actually started having back pain, and then I tore my pec. So I'm not saying that it was the Accutane, but it's something to think about. In hindsight, it definitely scared me away. Now I don't have any acne problems anymore. Uh, you know, knock on wood. I don't get pimples. I mean, there was a period again. I think when I was 21, 22, where I was having some acne, but other than that, you know, it's uh, it's a done deal. I had like a lifetime worth of acne in 2 or 3 years. Um, but yeah, I tore the pec, and instead of going and getting it operated on, um, I just got scared. I said, I don't want to bodybuild anymore. That's it. I'm done. Hang it up. That's it for me. Um, so I purposefully did a lot of cardio, and I barely ate, and I got down to 130 pounds, and yeah, I was depressed because I think at that point you realize that you've invested your identity in something, and that's not healthy. And that's something that I would say to anyone who's starting in this, or that competes, that is a bodybuilder. Don't wrap your identity around your physique, because that's very foolish. And I'm not saying that it's something that I don't struggle with, but I think all bodybuilders will struggle with this. But it could all be gone like that. You're an injury away from losing what you have. So when that happened to me, I thought, oh, I'll just be normal. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to give up, the parties and the social life and the this and the that. And so I went and I tried to enjoy all of that. And I was, I hit like a mental rock bottom. And I was like, I have unfinished business. And so I couldn't train with weights for probably about a year. It took me almost a year, really, to get back in momentum. But I would do push-ups every night, and I would have a few different angles that I would do it at, and I would just put blood in the area, and not really, like I said, I didn't use weights on it, and I trained the rest of my body with weights. And then after a while, eventually, I started using weights again, and here I am now. But it was definitely a process that required a ridiculous amount of patience, and there's still a small hole, but I can't believe how much it did heal, because I went to the doctor and he said it's not really going to heal, Aaron. And so by not getting the surgery, I was basically saying I'm not going to bodybuild anymore, and that's what I said to myself. Um, any tips on increasing hamstring engagement during deadlifts? Pre-exhaust. I mean, that's the only thing I can really say. Um, I usually, if I were to do a deadlift on a hamstring day, I would never do it first. I would be doing glute ham raises, ham curls, and stuff like that before I deadlifted. In terms of just increasing them, in the movement. Um, I don't really know. I think that a lot of these things are going to depend on how tall you are, your structure. There's a lot of different answers to stuff like this. Um, some people bend their knees more than others, but in my opinion, the answer I would give to somebody would be pre-exhausted. Um, what do I consider the best exercise to build big quads? Um, I think it's a plethora of exercises. I don't think if you watch my training, I don't train in one style. I train, in supersets and volume, giant sets, and I also do very heavy compound movements. I do these in the same workout because you got fast twitch fibers and you got slow twitch fibers. I want to stimulate all of the fibers in the same workout, really. So, um, in terms of quads, I think one of the best things is the thing I do on leg press, where I do heavy sets of 8 to 10, and then I'll count to 10. I'll rack it, count to 10, and then keep going, and do 2 or 3 sets in one set. And that way, I'm pushing past failure, but I'm not using a weight that's so light that I'm not hitting my fast twitch fibers. So, um, you're really pushing past failure, and I don't know. I feel like there's multiple benefits to that. But in terms of just complete quad development, I like to start with kind of the torture-like giant set um, kind of exercises, and then eventually evolve into I finish with heavy compound stuff. And I'm still squatting 500 plus pounds at the end of my workout. So that's, to me, is what's going to get you good looking legs. Do I think BCAAs are essential, and why? I think that they are good to use. Are they essential? I would say not necessarily. Now, if you can use them, yeah, they're good. But I am not a huge. Uh, I'm not. I don't really drink protein shakes. Um, the Blackstone Labs products, like I really like the Formula 19, and I do use some Resurgence sometimes. Um, but I'm big on the pump products like the Hype and the Dust and the Formula 19, and a couple of the other like the Pros and the Eradicate, and but mainly those things. And BCAAs I've never really been huge on. I don't know. I just feel like if your nutrition is really on point and you're eating a good meal, a substantial meal before you train, and you're eating after you train, that unless you are doing some type of protocol, um, that is different. And a lot of you advanced bodybuilders will probably know where I'm going with that. But unless you're doing something really advanced, I think you really are better off just staying hydrated during your training and focusing on your nutrition before and nutrition after. And to me, if I'm really focusing on getting BCAs down and all this shake and that shake while I'm training, my workout is suffering. So I'd rather put the energy into my workout and then worry about my nutrition before and after and through the rest of the day. What is your best tips for cutting? Eat less, train more. I mean, that's what it's about, right? Um, that's a pretty vague question. Um, People will probably have more details. What's your favorite rear delt / hamstring exercise, and why? Well, I don't really have an exercise that trains both of those at the same time, but my favorite rear delt exercise, I think I have it on video, is where I bend over kind of at an angle like this, and I use a dumbbell one arm at a time, and it really isolates the rear delt. It makes it very hard to transfer the stress to your rhomboids, which is a problem that I see almost everyone do when they do rear delt exercises. Your favorite hamstring exercise? Well, I go with glute ham raises. Those are tough, and they definitely work. How are you able to squat at the end of your routine? I'm dead after leg press extensions and ham curls, so I have to squat first. Are you forced to do less weight when you do them at the end? Of course. Of course. I mean, yeah, I could squat a lot more if I did them at the beginning, but that's the whole point. I mean, why would I want to try to squat 700 pounds? I'll tear all my ligaments and destroy my back. So if I can squat, 5+ plates at the end of my training, that's good. Don't worry about the weight. It's kind of irrelevant, right? Um, Squats are something where I feel like they're very versatile in terms of hitting the entire leg. So I do them at the end of both quad day and ham day, and so whatever part of the leg has been really punished, I feel like it complements it. Um, and depending on how hard I've gone, it will depend on how heavy I go, but I'll at least go to 405. You know, and usually I'll do at least one set with 5 plates. What was my most memorable show? Why was it so memorable? Oh man, that's hard. I don't know. Um, I mean USA's when I turned pro, but then my year in 2014 was pretty memorable. So I don't know. They're all different, but I'd have to say USA's and the Arnold in 2014, the first year I did it, when I got third place, and when I won the New York Pro. Probably those 3 shows. Obviously, doing the Olympia is a huge honor. So, I don't know, it's a toss up. There's so many different things and variables that happen when you compete like that it's a new story each time. So, that's pretty, I don't know, that's a really hard question. What are the must have subs? Oh, whoops. Creatine before or after? Um, I don't take creatine. I'll just be honest with you. Um, I take it if it's in my pre-workout. Otherwise, eh, like it really shouldn't be necessary if you're eating enough. That's just my opinion. People are gonna argue with me about that, but it depends on your level. Um, in high school, I was took it religiously. Now, if I take it, I can't tell if I take it or not. So, um, I don't really have much of an opinion. What are the must-have subs? Everyday subs. Um, the gear support I take, multivitamin. So organ health slash vitamins take every day. I take one thing I've been enjoying is always moving forward from Run Everything Labs. It's a very good product. Because I'm sure a lot of you that try to train heavy all the time, sometimes it's tempting to want to take ibuprofen and stuff a lot. And the anti-inflammatories are bad for muscle growth. It's not a good habit. They're also hepatotoxic. So if you can take something that will, it's a natural substitute for something like that, that's good. And for me, it's been helping with that. I take the Dust, the Hype, the Formula 19. You can take the Growth Before Bed, as in this. But in terms of every day, I said Eradicate before. Um, if you're on the cycle of the Chosen One or Brutal Force. Otherwise, it's all about Whole Foods for me. what to eat, what not to eat, misconceptions of foods, cheats, and dieting. I need to speed this up. There's a lot of questions left. Phew. I think that's an extremely vague question. What to eat, what not to eat. Uh, that's foods could be good or bad, or not necessarily good and evil. A lot of that is about timing. A lot is about you. Are you naturally fat? Are you skinny? These are things that you and your makeup are going to affect the answer to that question. So I don't have a straight answer for that. Tennis elbow, golfer's elbow. How do you work around those pains? Well, it depends on the severity of the pain, but I really like the KT tape, the calisthenic tape. It does help, even though it looks like you're just putting a piece of tape on your arm, and that is what you're doing, but it actually really helps. So give that a shot. I'm not being paid to say that. I bought this, so I've believe me, I'm being honest with you. It does work. Um, Peak week. What do I do? Hopefully nothing. Honestly, peak week is like what I see all the bikini girls writing in their status. You shouldn't have to do much in peak week, unless you should really be ready before, and then maybe fine tune. Take a couple pounds of water out. Maybe that's it. But you should be ready. You should be able to, if they, compete a week before your show, and then it's just fine tuning. I have rarely done a carb depletion and a carb load. I normally just coast right in. If I look good a week out, I just come down just a little bit more, and then I'll pull the water at the end and then compete, and that's it. Um, Creatine again, yeah. How much protein and carb required per day for a bodybuilder? That's extremely vague. Um, a bodybuilder could be a lightweight. A bodybuilder could be 300 pounds. So there's no answer for that question. Um, how to get a V taper? Um, that's kind of an odd question too, I guess. That's just time in the gym. You're gonna work on your width. You're gonna get wider delts. Hopefully, you're not gonna blow your waist out. Um, do vacuum exercises. Wear a belt. Don't make your obliques huge. Um, Otherwise, there's nothing that I can tell you to like get a V taper. That's just a lot of that is genetics. That's your skeleton, and you can't really change that. Um, New weeks into prep. Come into prep, you seem to be looking your best ever, and then come showtime, you didn't change anything, and you seem to not look as good. Flat and not as full. Would cheating be the best option? Upping your normal cards don't seem to cut it. If so, what kind of cheat would be best for not screwing up your physique totally, or cut the cardio down? Definitely cut the cardio down. Um, I've noticed this a few times when people have asked me this. Um, if you're doing a lot of stairs, your legs are gonna flatten out before you compete. I believe if you're doing stairs, you should cut them out early and go to the treadmill at the end of your prep, and then your legs will separate out nicely. Because if you're just constantly pounding them on the stairs, they're never going to really have a chance to fully recover and separate out. So definitely cut the cardio down. In terms of a cheat, I wouldn't go overboard. Maybe some pancakes, you know, something like that for a meal. Just fill out and, see how you look in the morning. It's always better to kind of err on the side of caution than to just totally go crazy. I would avoid like dairy. Um, Pancakes is normally a good call. PJ Braun actually told me that. So remember that. Would you compete in powerlifting since you're stronger than most fat ones? Well, thank you. Um, no, I really have no ambitions of competing in powerlifting. Um, I don't really think I would do too well. My deadlift is not very strong. My squat is very strong. My bench is very strong, but I would really have to work on my deadlift. Um, my favorite meals in the off season, gosh, uh, I don't know. Anything that I can get down that is kind of like clean dirty. I find myself eating sushi a lot. It seems to be easy to eat. Best way to get legs to grow: train it frequently, push real heavy weights, or focus on form and do it with moderate weights. Well, I don't understand why you would not focus on form. Um, so that's number one priority, always. Um, frequency, I like maximum like maximum frequency would be like 4 days apart. I think more than that, and you're probably not using enough weight. Um, but as I touched on earlier, I believe in a mix of all the training strategies. Mix them all together, blend them all up, and there's your recipe. Do I ever take breaks from the gym? How much time off would you recommend? Because I'm in the gym for 9 months. I've been working out consistently 4 times a week for about 2 years. Membership. I would do a body weight circuit, by the way. I recently took a 2 week break. I feel like it's not enough. I still feel tired. Is that normal? And something you need to get over or work, or is working out for about 3 years like me without a break okay to do? I just want to know because I feel like I kind of lost motivation, if you will. So thanks if you answer this. Um, I think a lot of that is mental. Um, but if you feel burned out, take a break. Nobody's holding a gun to your head and making you go to the gym. So unless it's paying your bills, take a break. That's my answer. I mean, it's your body, and it's not just going to magically heal if you keep pounding it into the dirt. So, I mean, if it's not recovered, it's not recovered. Go take a rest. Um, take it easy for a week. Try to not think about bodybuilding. People ask me like, oh, you follow. Like when I leave the gym, I'm not a bodybuilding fan. I don't look at bodybuilding online. I get away from it. I don't think about. I try not to think about it because you'll get mentally burned out on it. So, um, try to just break your life up. If you can't, yeah, take a week. I don't. It's kind of a individual question. Some people train their whole life and they never seem to take time off and they're fine. It depends on how heavy you're training, what you're taking, what you're doing. There's a lot of variables in that. So that's really just listen to your body, man. Beer or liquor? Liquor. What's my favorite guitar? Well, I play a Fender. Um, I do like Jackson guitars, but I don't. I've always just played a Fender. What, if any, supplements can you take to keep blood pressure under control and help keep your liver healthy? I've been pretty fortunate in the fact that I've never actually had to take any supplements for my blood pressure or really for my liver. Um, but your liver will heal itself, so don't abuse it, um, and give it breaks. You know, um, that's what I can say. Blood pressure. I mean, I went in just now, and I'm not really trying to keep my blood pressure down. I'm definitely not on any blood pressure meds, and it was 120 over 75, which is healthy. I've had it even lower than that before. One thing that will lower your blood pressure is Cialis. So if you take a low dose of Cialis every day, you'll have lower blood pressure. It also has other nice side effects too. So that's one thing you can do. Intermittent fasting, I already talked on that. The high reps, low reps, I've talked on that. Ab workout, I only do probably once a week, just a few exercises, maybe twice a week. Um, Mostly leg lifts, I feel like, are beneficial to stretch your core out, but it's really not too important. Um, into prep and or what changes going into the 12-week point. Transitioning into prep, you just need to have everything organized. You need to have a plan. You need to be ready to execute it. You need to have everything on hand. You need to have it all ready so that nothing is going to rock your world and ruin it. Um, Other than that, you got to be mentally, charged up in the game. As a couple questions ago, someone was feeling mentally burned out. Don't go into a 12-week. You're feeling mentally burned out. If you got to take a little bit of time, go have some fun before you enter that 12 weeks, then do it. If there's a food that you're going to want to eat, go eat it, and then go into your 12-week. How often do I do cardio? Not much. Right now, maybe a couple of times a week, but I train at a pretty fast pace. Like my leg workouts are pretty brutal, so I don't feel like a slow, steady pace is really gonna do too much, especially since I'm lean already. It's gonna depend on the person. Um, I kind of want to start doing a little bit more stuff like high jumps and some functional stuff maybe for cardio. Um, but that's just for me personally. That's not necessarily because it's necessary. Um, I'm 19 years old. I want to know how you got around the issue of money and cost at my age, or at a young age at least. Like, what work did you do alongside bodybuilding to make ends meet? Whew. Um, it's rough, buddy. Um, when I was 19, I mean, bodybuilding was cheap, relatively. I did like landscaping, cut lawns. Um, Later on, I was a personal trainer, and I found some very wealthy clients. Um, they're actually people who came over from Qatar, and they treated me very well, and we were good friends, and I think that relationship helped me a lot on top of the other personal training job I had. Um, but it's definitely not easy. That's why you see a lot of bodybuilders doing questionable things to try to make money, because bodybuilding is like a job in of itself. So to really do bodybuilding and something else 100% is very hard. So I don't know, man. This depends on you. What are your gifts? What are you into? Um, Make connections. See what you have to offer. Um, be creative. Um, Diet is looking like everything in sight. There's a question about what my diet looks like. If only one can apply conditioning or size, that's like asking you to have long hair or short hair. Whatever you want. Uh, if you're talking bodybuilding, conditioning wins shows. Not the biggest guy, but it is bodybuilding, right? So you do have to be big too. Um, how do I plan to make it for the lack of size? This competitors 20 to 30 pounds heavier than yourself. Eat a lot more, basically. Generally focus on a slow tempo on all your lifts, really focusing on squeezing the muscle prior to and during the rep. Have you always trained this way, or did you eventually find that this worked better for you than other tempos? Are you using a little body English to initiate the lift? Um, Thank you for the kind words as well. Um, yeah, I mean, when I started training, my role models were guys like Ronnie Coleman and Branch Warren and stuff. So of course, when I would go in the gym, I would think I had to yell and scream and throw weights around. Um, and then a couple injuries later, you start to think and you break it all down and you realize, you know, think about what you're doing. Be a thinking man's bodybuilder. Don't just do a movement because you saw someone doing it. Figure out the mechanics, figure out how to do it right, and of course use a good tempo because why train? Like, do it right. Um, what is the most important thing to ensure you do during contest prep? Oh man, I don't know. There's the like, that's way too vague. I'm sorry, man. Can't answer that. What are your suggestions for someone who wants to have a career in the fitness industry? Where do we start? Do's and don'ts, and how to prep for your first competition. Suggestions for someone who wants to have a career in the fitness industry? Have one outside of the fitness industry first. Because don't put all your eggs in this basket. Like I said before, this could all be going like boom. So unless you already have built up a huge name that you're going to capitalize off of, you should have a career outside. And this should be a hobby until you make it. And even when you make it, okay, I've been top 5, 6, something like that in the world. And I trust me when I say that I was not like I'm good, I made it, like done deal. Okay, so it's always a climb, and you're gonna have to be creative to make money because magazines are dead. Supplement companies, it's iffy. If you're lucky, you get something, but don't really think you're gonna make a lot of money out of this industry. It's gonna come from you. You got to make your money. You have to be interesting. You have to make yourself a character. You have to portray yourself in a way that you're gonna have fans, and it's kind of like if you build it, they will come. If the only reason that a supplement company is gonna want to put their name on you is if you are like a highway with a lot of traffic. Okay, you're a big deal, so make yourself a big deal. That's and I can't really tell you how to do that because you're your own person, you're your own personality. But that would be my advice. Secrets for calves. I train them almost every workout. Um, Other than that, just really focus on the form. I remember Ben Pakowski. I watched a video, and I always when I flex my calves, I come up on my big toe. Instead of everyone kind of goes off to the side. That helps. Otherwise, there's not really much of a technique. How do you make sure you make progress all the time? Monitor it. Um, Break it down into numbers. If you break it down into numbers, then you're not going to second guess whether you made progress or not. You're going to know. If you weigh yourself, if you take pictures, you compare them, you'll know if you made progress. Whereas if you're just looking in the mirror every now and then, and like, oh, I think I'm bigger, I think I'm stronger, like, I don't know. You may have friends who are too nice, and they're telling you, "Look great, bro," or something. Have some mean, honest friends. They're gonna tell you that you look like shit, and then you need to, you know, step it up. But I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to do that. And it depends on your goals, really, too. I mean, your goals to lift a lot of weight, to compete. Competing keeps you accountable for making progress. That's for sure. What's the best time for cardio? Fasted or after a workout? I would say fasted in the morning would be preferable if I could, because I think after a workout, you're kind of putting yourself in a catabolic state. That's just my opinion. After I finish my bodybuilding career, are there any other industries you want to venture, such as music or comic illustration? Yes. I mean, I'm starting an apparel line, and I want to go and I would like to use my skills in graphics and such to um, yeah, further my career. What kind of direction that's going in, I'm gonna not get into now, but yes, um, it does not end on stage. That's for sure. How do you feel? I haven't competed in the open class yet, so nothing has changed very much other than I'm just trying to eat more. As most of the group, I avoid working out too much. I don't do a lot of traps. Arms, I don't do much, mainly just because your tendons take such a beating when you train everything else. That if you're training your arms really heavy all the time, you're probably going to tear a bicep or a tricep or something. So, a few exercises, once or twice a week is really all you need. Um, Otherwise, you're going to totally overdo it. You're going to blow your arms out. Um, I obviously lift heavy really often. Did you ever train for strength or run strength numbers to get your current numbers? No, I never really have trained for strength. I just am crazy, and I always kind of have this mental thing that I have to be strong. I have to outlift everybody, and it's very bad. I don't recommend it because you'll hurt yourself. Like me, I've hurt myself a lot. Um, Lift explosively or at a controlled pace. Um, I think that a good tempo is good, a good even tempo, but I do think that on, like, let's say you're pressing, like you can be explosive, but definitely be super controlled on the negative. I'm really, really, really controlled on negatives. Besides shrugs, any other ways to build traps? Um, I would do like a very slightly bent, like this maybe, um, kind of like a dumbbell upright row in a sense. I don't really even do shrugs very much. My friend Joey asks if I'll be his Valentine next year, and I will say that I think Summer will be very sad about that, and I don't know, man. She's cool, so I don't want to start beef. Do I go through phases with your diet versus your workout routine? Meaning bulking versus cutting? I always found myself being stuck between thick and strong versus being lean and cut. Ultimately, I want the best of both worlds, but I'm struggling finding that routine gets me both. Thanks for the help. Um, I think that you can have both. I try to have both. Obviously, you're not going to be contest lean all the time. I think the best way to do that would be to check in every 5 days. Let's say 5 days. So you're going to eat a certain amount, you're going to train a certain way, and then in 5 days, take pictures of yourself, see what kind of strength increases you've made, weigh yourself, and break it all down and decide where it's working. If it's in, you look at the numbers and then you adjust them accordingly, and then you go another 5 days to a week, and then you sit down again and you adjust it. So I think that it comes down to really just go with what you're doing and then slowly change it and adapt to how you're changing. And I feel like that's really the foolproof way to constantly improve, in my opinion. Supplements are essential to building muscle. Supplements are a waste of time. Uh, Most whey protein is a waste of time. Um, Now, Blackstone Labs has theirs tested, so it's whey isolate. So that's an exception. But man, the percentage of nitrogen spike protein is so high that I don't trust it really. Other than, like I said, the stuff that my company makes, because I see it. I see that, like the number, the batch number, where it came from. But otherwise, totally, everyone feels like it's necessary. It's not. It's just I tell people like just go eat chicken breasts. Most of my shakes are egg whites. I drink egg whites. So that's overrated. Um, I'm big on pre-workouts just because I like to train intense. So um, to me, that's like essential. Strength and hypertrophy in the same workout? Yes, I kind of touched on that already. How interaction do you have with other athletes who are sponsored by Blackstone Labs? Imagine it would be helpful interacting with other people who have made the same lifestyle choice. Um, yeah, I mean, it's always cool to interact with them. Um, I'm looking forward to this weekend at the Arnold to see everybody. I also, though, will caution people. A lot of people are really caught up in, they're like, oh man, I need to find a hardcore gym. Not enough people compete in my gym. I need to go to a hardcore gym. And you know what happens when you go to a hardcore gym? Is everybody competes. And so when everybody competes, everybody wants to talk to you about competing. And they all just, it's like a big, like, group. It's like a bar. It's like you walk in there and everyone's like, ah, hey, and then how's your diet? How's this? How's that? I just go to a corporate gym. Like put your headphones in and work out. You don't need a hardcore gym. Yeah, it's cool to see your like-minded people. Um, you know, I have friends who train and compete, and yeah, it's good to have them around. But in terms of in general, like I think that people really overseek that, and that's a problem because it's almost like it makes you too comfortable. It should come from you, not from your surroundings. Um, when it comes to gaining weight, do you drink 0% fat milk, whole milk? Do you eat a lot of dairy to clean bulk? No, I don't. I'm not a fan of dairy. If I use milk, I normally will buy lactase, which is the kind for lactose intolerant people, because it's easy to digest. Or I'll buy almond milk. Dairy is not a good choice. Um, the only type of dairy that I might have is like some kefir with the probiotics in it. It has a lot of bacteria. Other than that, man, dairy's bad news. You know. I mean, we all love ice cream, but in moderation, man, dairy's not good. Favorite workout to focus on traps? Ooh, I don't really, I don't do a lot of traps. Like I said, some type of upright row. Sometimes leaning back on the low row with the rope press down, um, or even standing with a rope, something like that. Oh, um, I can't really talk too deep because this video is already 53 minutes long. About what is better for different body types, about nutrition. Again, I'm going to go back to that, how I said to check in with yourself every 5 to 7 days and just kind of see how things are going. Now, whether you need a coach for that or whether you can keep yourself accountable to do that yourself, that's something you need to be honest with you about. So, figure that out. Um, is Increlex better than LR3? I have never used Increlex. Sorry. I, I mean, to be honest, I wish I had. I've never had that experience, so I don't know. I'm not really a big peptide guy. Um, I've heard good things. I can say that. Um, does it make more sense to train every day for an hour or work out every other day, but train until you shit yourself? What is the most efficient way to make gains? Um, well, if you're shitting yourself, that's bad, but I think that if you're shitting yourself, your heart is in the right place. That means that you're training really, really, really hard. So wear a diaper and do that because you're recovering out of the gym, not in the gym. So when you go in the gym, you should be 150%. Don't go in every day if you're only going to train 60%. There have been times where I've been training 3 times a week, 4 times a week, every other day, and my workout, my results were good. I was recovered, you know. I didn't have to worry so much about being in a caloric deficit or something, to make gains. So don't feel like you have to be in the gym every day. You don't. That's not how you grow. Um, what supplements other than L-carnitine and a thermogenic can make the speed up the fat burning process? Of course, also incorporating either fasted cardio or HIIT. Man, there's tons of stuff you can do for that. I mean, again, this is gonna go into. I mean, are you a drug using bodybuilder? Are you a natural bodybuilder? Um, L-carnitine is nice. Yeah, it's something that definitely assists. I mean, even your pre-workouts, are gonna make you sweat more, and you probably burn a little more fat. They're gonna make you train at a higher rate. Um, Things that stimulate your thyroid work very well. I mean, like the fat burner, the two fat burners that Blackstone has, Cobra 6 and Cobra 6 Extreme. Cobra Extreme feels stronger, but Cobra 6P is a really good fat burner, I have to say. If you were to Google all the ingredients and research them, it's a very good product. It works very well. Targets the brown adipose tissue and has T2 in it. So, for a legal supplement, it works very well. What's the key to staying so lean when you're off season? Um, Being a skinny motherfucker naturally, really. Because it's very hard for me to be big. I don't really like to eat. Um, it's hard for me to gain any weight. My body usually runs through food, and I don't usually have a big appetite. Um, Cardio, yeah. I mean, I train hard. I train very hard. Um, People know that people who work out with me, know me for pushing the limit. Um, but how do you stay lean? There's not really a one word answer for that. I mean, of course, diet is going to come into play, and cardio is going to come into play, and supplementation is going to come into play. But again, let's go back to that thing where I said check in with yourself every 5 to 7 days. Everyone should do that because you should never let yourself go. Like, just go. Like, you should never get fat. If you're a bodybuilder, don't ever let yourself go. Just don't ever just let it go because, man, it's going to suck. You're going to have so much. The fat cells you gain, you're not really going to kill. They're going to be there. They're just going to shrink, you know? And if you really gain a lot of fat, and let's say you want to compete as a light heavyweight, and in your off season you get to 250 pounds, and you're strong, but you're kind of fat, okay? How do you think that in 16 weeks, all of a sudden you're going to look shrink wrapped? You're probably not. Even if you get your body fat down, your skin is not going to be shrink wrapped because you were just 250 pounds, and now you're like 195 probably, So stay within striking distance, don't totally let it go. That's just my opinion. Slow and steady wins the race, man. Um, Hope you'll steer clear of all the generic questions turning into high. Interested in knowing what keeps you pushing yourself to the limit day in and day out. In short, what motivates you the very most? Um, what motivates you the very most? I think that. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. You know, as cheesy as it may sound, I think that everyone has a purpose in life. And I think that at some time during your life, you're gonna find something that's gonna kind of take hold of you, and you're gonna know, like, I need to do this. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Um, it's almost like a responsibility. Um, and I think that for me, I know, like, when I was in college and as a older teen, I remember, just kind of looking around, and I would think, man, I'm going to be just like these thousands of other kids. I'm going to be just like all of these people. And it terrified me. And there's nothing that scares me worse than that, is to be just another face in the crowd and to have nothing that sets me apart from other people. And so to me, there's nothing more valuable um, than to really, self ownership and to really have an identity. Um, it's worth busting your ass for every day. And you need to remind yourself that. I mean, I have bad days. I keep, my trophies on the shelf to kind of look at and remind myself, like, you can do this, Aaron. You've done it before. You can do it again. Um, but it's never going to be easy, that's for sure. And I think also when you realize that you have other people looking at you and you have other people that are actually inspired by maybe something that you've done, it makes you feel like you have an impact on others, and that's inspiring in and of itself. Um, I mean, I could go on for an hour about that, but I can't really because this is already an hour long. Um, do you want to marry someday, maybe start a family, or just focusing on you? Um, in short, I almost got married. Um, I was in a over 4 year relationship. Was planning to propose. All fell apart. I sold the ring. Um, Pretty sad story. At the moment, I can't imagine really being at that point again. I'm definitely not looking for that again. Um, I come from a large family, so naturally, just watching. Again, I'm not really going to get into my family's issues and stuff, but things I've seen happen. I'm not really motivated to have children. Um, and I don't know, people are going to have varying opinions on that, but I think that if you really want that for yourself, and if you are really not in a position to be able to provide for them and to be able to be a good parent, then that's selfish of you. So I think that, um, you know, really take into consideration what you're doing. And in terms of relationships, um, you got to find yourself 100% before you find other people. Um, I believe in the power of, you know, like that magnetic. I guess if you work hard and you're striving towards your goals, things will fall into place. So that's what I think you should focus on. That's what I focus on. Um, the joggers come from TJ Maxx. We all know that. Will you look as good in them as I do? You look better. Um, what's my favorite song to listen to when I work out? I don't really listen to music when I work out. Um, and here you go. Here's a challenge. For everyone that listens to music while you work out, I would challenge you to ditch the headphones and try to have your most intense workout without music. Because I really feel like you should be able to dig deep and find that intensity and focus without having to feed off of somebody else's, the music. I think that you should be able to feed off of yourself and your own demons or motivation or whatever you want to call it, to be able to get through an intense session of training. So I don't know. That's just something personally. I feel like I focus more when it's just me in the gym, focusing 100% on what I'm doing. And then I enjoy music, so I do that on the side. Um, when I retire from pro bodybuilding, what do I want to do? I don't have a specific answer for that necessarily right now. Um, what are my favorite movies? I don't know. I don't really watch a lot of movies. I mean, I like gang movies, um, where people get shot and chopped up and stuff. Um, what was that movie with Johnny Depp? That I'm drawing a blank. I don't even remember. Limitless was a good movie. God, man. I'm terrible with this stuff. In terms of increasing your weight that you're pushing on bench and squat, rewind again, check in every 5-7 days, man. If it's not going up, then you need to eat more. In terms of technique, that's another thing to open up. Research different programs, give them a try, and then, like I said, check in if the program isn't working, and make sure you give a program enough time before you really judge it. Um, what do I dream to accomplish? That's pretty broad. I think I just like to use the name I've created to kind of launch some other creative projects. It's good to. I'm skipping this question just because it goes back to something I've already covered. Is it good to stretch after weight training or before? Only after. Do not stretch before. Only do light repetitions before. I'll do rotator cuff warm ups, things like that. Maybe do a little small amount of cardio. Don't stretch though, because your muscles and tendons are cold. They're not full of blood yet, and you'll hurt yourself. There's no point to do that. You'll also be weaker. So wait till after. Once a week or more of a body part. Uh, what's more important for hypertrophy, volume or intensity? In terms of the frequency, that's going to depend on how heavy you're training. And volume without intensity is a waste of time. That's my opinion. So, why are you in the gym training if it's not intense? And that doesn't mean it has to be heavy, but it has to be intense. Otherwise, you are wasting your time. In terms of the carb cycling, I don't really have an answer for that. Sorry, man. About my 5 meals. I'm gonna cut it off right there, guys. I'll do this again, but this video is way too long as is. So I hope that it wasn't too long and that you guys don't turn it off partway through. But I hope that was insightful for you guys, and I'll do this again sometime soon. So thanks for tuning in. Till then, peace.